Welcome back to my channel, Celebes. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. At 95, Clint Eastwood says, "She was the only one who could do that to me." Clint Eastwood was born Clinton Eastwood Jr. on May 31st, 1930 in San Francisco, California. He grew up during the Great Depression when times were really hard. This tough childhood helped make him strong and taught him to work hard. His early life was full of moving around California because his dad worked as a steel worker and had to find jobs in different places. These early years taught him to never give up, stay humble, and be independent. These things would later show up in the movies he acted in and how he lived his real life. Eastwood first became famous in the late 1950s when he got a part as Rowdy Yates in a TV cowboy show called Rawhide. The show ran from 1959 to 1965 and was really popular. It gave Eastwood his first taste of being famous, but it was when he became a big star around the world in the mid-1960s that he really made his mark in movie history. Working with an Italian movie director named Sergio Leone, Eastwood starred in 3 amazing Western movies called the Dollars Trilogy. These were a fistful of dollars in 1964, for a few dollars more in 1965, and The Good, The Bad, and The Ugly in 1966. These Italian Western movies showed the world a new kind of cowboy character called the Man with No Name. This character was quiet, tough, and sometimes did bad things, but people loved watching him. Eastwood's acting changed Western movies forever. He made them more rough and real, which was very different from the clean, nice cowboy movies from before. In the 1970s and 1980s, Eastwood kept growing as an actor. He starred in and directed many movies that critics loved and that made lots of money. He created another famous character named Dirty Harry Callahan in the movie Dirty Harry in 1971. This tough San Francisco police officer became known for fighting crime his own way, even if it meant breaking some rules. This idea really spoke to people who were worried about rising crime and didn't trust the government. The movie had several sequels and made Eastwood famous as a tough action star who didn't mess around. Besides being a great actor, Clint Eastwood became one of Hollywood's most respected movie directors. He started directing with a movie called Play Misty for Me in 1971. This showed he was really good at telling stories and making movies about interesting characters and their feelings. Movies like Unforgiven in 1992, which won Academy Awards for Best Picture and Best Director, Mystic River in 2003, $1 Million Baby in 2004, and American Sniper in 2014 showed that he could make deep movies about people's lives, feelings, and problems. Unforgiven was especially important because it looked at the myths about the Old West in a new way. It was a serious movie about violence, right and wrong, and finding forgiveness. Through these movies, Eastwood didn't just change himself as a filmmaker, but he also helped change American movies. He won many awards, including Academy Awards, Golden Globes, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. Even with all these honors, he stayed a down-to-earth person known for being calm, simple in style, and quietly dignified. Away from movies, Eastwood lived a life with many different interests. He was a politician and served as mayor of Carmel by the Sea, California from 1986 to 1988. He's also a skilled jazz musician, a caring father of 8 children, and someone who cares deeply about protecting the environment. What makes Clint Eastwood truly amazing is how he keeps changing and trying new things. While many actors his age disappeared from Hollywood, Eastwood stayed important and creative. Even in his 90s, he kept acting and directing, always trying new things in movies. His recent work like Cry Macho in 2021 showed that his creative spirit was still strong. He's one of the rare people in entertainment whose work has influenced many generations and different types of movies. He made his mark on westerns, thrillers, dramas, war movies, and biographical films. Clint Eastwood, known for his tough movie characters and long career in Hollywood, also got lots of attention for his complicated personal life, especially his many romantic relationships over the years. People often thought of him as a modern-day Casanova because he was incredibly charming and mysterious when it came to love. Throughout his life, he dated many women from both inside and outside the movie business. Some of the women he was known to have dated include actress Anita Loos, the glamorous Mamie Van Doren, and stunt woman and dancer Roxanne Tunis. He also dated famous food critic Gail Green and French movie star Catherine Deneuve, whose brief relationship with Eastwood was talked about a lot in magazines. One of Eastwood's most famous relationships was with actress Sandra Locke, but he also dated women like actress and model Jill Banner, singer Keely Smith, and rising star Jamie Rose. Other women connected to Eastwood's love life include Hollywood actresses like Inger Stevens, Joanna Moore, and Susan St. James, as well as activist Jean Sieber. He was even linked to lesser-known women like Megan Rose, Jane Brolin, and Christina Sandera, who became a long-term companion in his later years. Despite being famous, Eastwood often tried to keep many of these relationships private, which made his already mysterious personality even more intriguing. On December 19, 1953, when he was just 23 years old, Clint Eastwood married Maggie Johnson, a model and secretary he had met on a blind date earlier that year. Their marriage marked the beginning of an important time in his life. Even though it looked like a normal marriage, their relationship was made difficult by Eastwood's early success in Hollywood and the temptations that came with fame. They had 2 children together, a son, Kyle Eastwood, born in 1968, who became a successful jazz bass player and composer, and a daughter, Allison Eastwood, born in 1972. Allison later became an actress and director. However, Eastwood's affairs with other women put serious stress on the marriage, and by 1984, the couple had separated after 30 years together. Their divorce, completed in 1984, was reportedly one of the most expensive celebrity divorces at the time, with Johnson receiving an estimated $25 to $30 million. While still legally married to Johnson, Eastwood began an important relationship with dancer and stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis, which lasted from 1959 to 1973. Their romance was mostly kept secret because Eastwood was married, but it resulted in the birth of his daughter Kimber in 1964. Kimber was raised by Tunis, and her father's identity wasn't publicly known until many years later when Eastwood's family and personal history began to get more media attention. Despite the secrecy, this relationship played an important role in Eastwood's early private life and was one of the first signs of his pattern of having multiple romantic relationships at the same time. In 1975, Eastwood started one of the most public and artistically important relationships of his life with actress Sandra Locke. Their partnership worked both in their personal life and on screen as the couple appeared together in several of Eastwood's most famous films, including the outlaw Josie Wales, Every Which Way But Loose, and Sudden Impact. The two lived together for over 14 years, during which Locke became one of Eastwood's most well-known companions. However, despite their close professional and romantic relationship, Eastwood was allegedly involved with other women at the same time and reportedly had at least 3 children during his time with Locke, a fact that later caused controversy and legal fights between them. Their relationship ended badly in April 1989, leading to a highly publicized court battle in which Locke accused Eastwood of lying and trying to ruin her career. One of the secret relationships Eastwood had during his time with Locke was with Ghislaine Reeves, a flight attendant. Their affair, kept secret for many years, resulted in the birth of 2 children, Scott Eastwood, born in 1986, and Catherine Eastwood, born in 1988. For a long time, Reeves raised both children away from the public eye. In Eastwood's role, as their father wasn't widely known until Scott began pursuing an acting career in the 2000s. Scott has since become a rising Hollywood star, inheriting his father's rugged good looks and following in his footsteps in both style and career. Catherine has also tried acting and writing, though she has stayed more low-key than her brother. After his breakup with Sandra Locke, Eastwood's next serious relationship was with actress Frances Fisher, best known for her roles in movies and TV shows, including Titanic and Unforgiven. Their relationship began in the early 1990s and lasted several years. In 1993, they had a daughter, Francesca Eastwood, who later became a TV personality, actress, and model. Like many of his previous relationships, Eastwood's partnership with Fisher eventually ended. Though they have remained friendly and worked together in raising their daughter, Clint Eastwood married for the second time much later in life. On March 31st, 1996, he married Dana Ruiz, a former TV news reporter. Their marriage was more traditional and public than many of Eastwood's previous relationships, and Dana often went with him to movie premieres and public events. The couple had one daughter together, Morgan Eastwood, born in 1996, who sometimes appeared in the media during her childhood. However, despite their seemingly stable marriage, the couple began to grow apart, and in August 2013, Dana confirmed that she and Eastwood were living separately. Their divorce was finalized in 2014, ending another chapter in the actor's eventful love life. In total, Clint Eastwood is known to have had at least 8 children with 6 different women, though some reports suggest there may be more. He has generally stayed quiet when it comes to talking about his relationships and family, often choosing not to confirm specific details. In interviews or public appearances, this privacy has only added to the mystery surrounding his personal life. Nevertheless, Eastwood has remained close to many of his children, several of whom have followed him into the entertainment business in various ways. Despite the complications of his personal relationships, Eastwood's reputation as a father, partner, and Hollywood icon continues to fascinate the public. At 95 years old, Clint Eastwood, an icon of American movies known for his calm personality, unshakable toughness, and almost legendary status in Hollywood, shared a rare and vulnerable confession that shocked those who thought they knew the man behind the legend. In a quiet moment of thinking, the weathered actor and director, whose life had been filled with fame, money, and a long list of romantic relationships, said just 9 haunting words. She was the only one who could do that to me. He was talking, of course, about Sandra Locke, the woman whose presence in his life had left a scar so deep and lasting that even 9 decades of living couldn't quite heal it. The words weren't said with anger, but with a deep, almost spiritual pain. As though he were revisiting a chapter of his life he had never truly finished. Sandra Locke was more than just a co-star in films like The Outlaw Josie Wales, The Gauntlet, and Bronco Billy. Tsuki. She was Eastwood's inspiration, his equal, and perhaps the only woman who ever truly challenged him on both an artistic and emotional level. They met in 1975, and from the moment their eyes met on the set of The Outlaw Josie Wales, something changed in Eastwood. He was no longer just the steel-eyed gunfighter or the tough anti-hero. Around her, he was human, exposed, almost gentle. Their relationship, which lasted over 13 difficult years, was defined by intense passion, artistic teamwork, emotional ups and downs, and ultimately a painful and very public breakdown. And yet, despite everything, the lawsuits, the betrayals, the silence, Locke had left a permanent mark on him that neither time nor success could erase. When Eastwood said the words, "I couldn't walk after," it wasn't just a saying or figure of speech. He wasn't talking about a physical injury, but rather the emotional paralysis that followed the end of their relationship. In a life filled with movement, film sets, political interviews, award stages, directors' chairs, Locke's departure had stopped him in his tracks. He described the breakup as a kind of collapse, an emotional shutdown that left him confused and empty. "She broke something in me," he once admitted to a close friend, "and I never figured out how to fix it." For a man who had survived the tough pressures of Hollywood for over 6 decades, lived through war, directed Oscar-winning films, and commanded respect with the force of his presence, it was shocking to imagine that he had once been brought so low, not by an enemy, but by a woman he loved. Clint Eastwood, who had always maintained control in his life on and off screen, seemed to give up that power. However briefly, in Sandra Locke's world. She was a brilliant, sharp-tongued actress with a strong will and a razor-sharp mind. Unlike many of the women he had dated before or after, Locke wasn't happy to stand in his shadow. She demanded to be seen and heard, and she saw through the myth of Clint Eastwood to the vulnerable man beneath. And that perhaps is what made her so dangerous to him. She made him feel things he didn't want to feel. She made him question his own instincts. She made him hesitate. Years later, as he sits alone in his Carmel estate, surrounded by awards, scripts, and portraits of a lifetime spent in the spotlight, Eastwood's thoughts often drift back to Sandra. Not the scandal, not the lawsuits, not even the films, but the quiet, stolen moments between takes. The way she looked at him when no one else was around. The way they laughed. The way she could silence him with a single look or draw something raw and real out of him when the camera wasn't rolling. She was the only one who could do that to me, he said again, softer this time, as though repeating it might make it less true. For a man who had lived through nearly a century of change, war, artistry, and love, Clint Eastwood's most lasting wound wasn't a bullet or betrayal. It was a woman named Sandra Locke. And even at 95, he still carried her memory like a hidden photograph in the pocket of his heart, worn around the edges, but never thrown away.